Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Kierkegaard said that a century and a half ago, and it still slices deeper than any dating advice on YouTube. You think intensity is proof of passion. You think more calls, more texts, more declarations mean more closeness. But the brutal truth is this: your intensity makes her drift. You want closeness. She feels claustrophobia. You believe you're showing commitment. She experiences you as a cage. Picture this. A guy you know, maybe it's you, wakes up at 6 a.m., checks his phone and sends her a long glowing message. Before she's even opened it, he's already drafted the next one. 48 hours later, she's shrinking into one-word replies. It's not another man. It's the suffocating smell of desperation. She's gasping for air. Ask yourself, when was the last time you disappeared for 72 hours without explaining, without apologizing, without panicking? Could your frame survive, or would you spiral into anxious calls and frantic scrolling, looking for clues in her Instagram stories? Intensity feels like strength to you, but to her nervous system it reads as panic. He didn't show passion, he showed pressure. He didn't anchor her. He tried to own her. That's why she pulls away. That's why you feel the sting of being ghosted even while she's still technically there. If she distances, you stay calm, you hold frame. No chasing, no punishment. This is the first law. Your stillness is power. Your composure is oxygen. When she feels oxygen, she relaxes. When she relaxes, closeness happens on its own. You're thinking, oh, but isn't that game playing? No, it's self-respect. It's the difference between inviting someone in and cornering them. It's the shift from seeking validation to projecting value. Think of a mountain. It doesn't beg the wind to stay. It stands. Storms pass, clouds drift, and yet the mountain draws climbers, seekers, and believers simply by existing. That's the posture you need to build. He didn't explode when she went quiet. He expanded into silence. He didn't demand love. Two reframes you must burn into your brain right now. Because what you call closeness is often controlled in disguise. And what she calls distance is usually a test of your gravity. When you pass the test, gravity increases. When you fail, she floats away. So ask yourself again, do you want to be the storm that scares her into a bunker, or the sky she feels safe under? Do you want to be the fire that burns too hot, or the hearth that draws her back every night? This is the unvarnished rulebook. Stop trying to trap her with intensity. Start commanding her respect with presence. Start today by holding your frame for just one weekend. Let her feel the air, the space, the freedom. When she comes back, it won't be because you chased. It will be because you finally became the gravity she couldn't drift away from. When you confuse closeness with control, women don't lean in, they instinctively retreat. You think your constant reach proves love. In her nervous system, it proves you're unstable. She doesn't read your intensity as devotion. She reads it as a signal you can't stand on your own. Ask yourself, is it intimacy you're after, or the illusion of safety? Is your demand for constant connection about her, or about calming the chaos inside you? When you choke on your own insecurity, you end up suffocating her freedom. Picture it. A man spends the weekend blowing up her phone, calls, texts, stories, memes, trying to convince her he's present. By Sunday, she's silent, not because she hates him, but because she can't breathe in the cage of his need. Here's the brutal truth. True intimacy arises from your stillness and your self-command. He didn't win her by pressing harder. He won her by pressing pause. He didn't chain her down. He gave her the air to walk back willingly. If he panics, you stay grounded. If he demands, you refuse to. That's the law. The freer she feels, the closer she comes, and when your presence is calm, when your frame is unshaken, connection happens by choice, not by force. That's intimacy. That's power. Intensity isn't power. Intensity is panic in disguise. You think it's passion, but she smells your fear before you open your mouth. She doesn't sense devotion, she senses desperation. Every over-explained text, every adjust-checking eine call, every late-night double tap says one thing: you're terrified she'll drift. Ask yourself, if you vanished for 72 hours without warning, would your frame hold or would it collapse? Would you still breathe normally? Or would you stalk her stories and overanalyze every pixel? If you can't survive the gap, you're not leading, you're leaking. Picture this micro story. A guy fires off 47 texts in 2 days. At first she replies politely, then her words shrink to single syllables. He thinks she's testing him. In reality, she's gasping for air, praying for one silent hour so she can hear her own heartbeat. That panic you call aromance is your nervous system misfiring. Evolutionary psychology explains it. Your brain interprets closeness as a fight for survival, but her brain reads your clinging as a threat to freedom. He didn't win her attention. He suffocated it. He didn't build desire. He built escape velocity. If she distances, you stay calm. No chasing, no punishment. If he scrambles for reassurance, you stand still. This is the first masculine rule. Your stillness is oxygen. Your composure is gravity. You don't convince her to stay, you give her a reason to orbit. Think of it like this. You're the mountain, she's the weather. The mountain doesn't beg the clouds to linger. It stands and the winds return on their own schedule. If you collapse at the first gust, you reveal you were never solid to begin with. Ask yourself again, do you want to be the fire that burns the room out, or the hearth that draws her back night after night? Do you want to be the flood that drowns her, or the ocean she can swim in without fear? The reframe you need is simple. He didn't double text, he doubled his self-respect. He didn't crush her with a lover. He calmed himself until love could breathe. This is how intensity transforms into presence. She doesn't need your panic, she needs your poise. Beneath your poise. She doesn't crave your explanations, she craves your centeredness. Hold the frame, breathe deeper, stop chasing ghosts. When she pulls back, let her. When she returns, she'll find you unshaken. That's when closeness becomes a choice instead of a cage. That's when you stop being panicked and start being the power. Closeness is not control. Closeness is a door she walks through, not a leash you tighten. Most men confuse emotional availability with emotional invasion. They think more messages, more check-ins, more probing equals intimacy. In reality, it equals pressure. Ask yourself, do you listen to understand or do you listen to corners? Do you give her space to speak or do you interrogate every pause like it's evidence? The difference between presence and possession decides whether she feels safe or smothered. You think she's drifting because of another guy. In truth, she's testing whether you can handle space without tantrums. She's not plotting betrayal, she's measuring your gravity. A woman who feels free chooses closeness. A woman who feels cornered escapes. Imagine this micro story. She spends the weekend away with friends. He stays grounded, trains at the gym, works on his craft, and lets her be. When she returns, she hugs him longer than before, because she felt the rare oxygen of trust. Kierkegaard called it the anxiety of freedom. The more freedom you grant, the more both people feel the vertigo of choice. And yet that freedom is the only soil where genuine intimacy can grow. He didn't panic at her absence. He deepened his presence. He didn't beg for updates. He became the update she wanted to hear. If she chooses, you are welcome. If she hesitates, you respect. That's the rule. If he claws for reassurance, you breathe and expand. If he pressures, you pause and anchor. This is how you flip from clinging to commanding. Ask yourself again, is your closeness an invitation or an invasion or an invasion? Are you strong enough to let her orbit on her own path without collapsing into suspicion? This is the masculine test. Your ability to sit still in uncertainty without collapsing. The secret isn't to lock her down, it's to become the space she wants to step into. He didn't demand answers, he held questions without fear. He didn't shrink under silence, he let silence build tension and respect. Stop imagining that proximity equals love. Start seeing that trust equals love. When you create an atmosphere where she's free to hesitate, you also create the conditions where she's free to choose you again and again. Closeness is voluntary, control is fear. The man who understands the difference stops chasing proof and starts radiating proof. Vino. Your job isn't to cage her, it's to become so centered she never feels the need to escape. This is how you transform intimacy from a tactic into a standard. This is how you replace panic with presence, and presence with power. Frame isn't about holding her tighter. Frame is about holding yourself still when everything else moves. Most men think control equals dominance. In reality, control over her is a weakness. Control over yourself is magnetism. When you're still inside, you pull her in. When you're frantic, you push her out. Identity shift. You're no longer the chaser orbiting her mood. You're the center she orbits. You're not the man running after validation. You're the man creating a gravity she can feel even when you're silent. Ask yourself, when silence enters, do you collapse or deepen? Do you panic and reach for your phone, or do you breathe and expand? This is the test that decides whether she trusts your presence or questions your stability. Micro story. Day 1 after a breakup, he sits alone and meditates instead of texting. His hands tremble, but he breathes through it. Day 7, she reaches out, not because he chased, but because he stabilized. She felt his new stillness across the distance like a signal. If his frame wobbles, her trust crumbles. If he anchors, you anchor deeper. If he spirals, you stay centered. This is the rule. If she distances, you don't scramble. If she tests, you don't flinch. He didn't send a wall of texts. He built a wall of calm. He didn't beg for updates. He became the update she couldn't ignore. 2 reframes that turn panic into power. Here's the 3-step practice to hardwire this stillness. First, pause. No reaction, no impulse, no digital lunge. Second, ground, feel your feet, slow your breath, return to your center. Third, respond short, clear, respectful, without agenda. You become a mountain instead of a gust of wind. Ask yourself again, are you the man who loses himself at the first hint of withdrawal? Or are you the man whose pulse slows, whose eyes steady, whose silence speaks louder than his words? Stillness isn't passive. Stillness is a choice. It's a masculine discipline that tells her, I don't need you to calm me. I am calm. The paradox is, the calmer you are, the more she reaches for you. He didn't suffocate her freedom. He became the air she wanted to breathe. He didn't dominate her schedule. He became the safe harbor she chose to return to. This is how frame maintenance turns into the stillness magnet. You're no longer proving your worth with noise. You're embodying your worth with composure. Every time you feel the urge to break your own stillness, run the 3 steps. Pause, ground, respond. Build muscle until your nervous system stops confusing space with danger. Because when your frame wobbles, her trust crumbles. When your frame steadies, her curiosity spikes. When your frame holds, her attraction grows. This is how stillness beats pressure every time. This is how you stop chasing connection and start drawing it in without a word. Scarcity is not a trick. Scarcity is self-respect turned into a calendar. You've been taught to think being available is attractive. In reality, unlimited access is cheap access. When you train her to believe you're always one text away, you teach her to take you for granted. When you discipline your time, you teach her to value it. Ask yourself, are you selecting or clinging? Are you choosing where your energy flows, or are you spraying it like a broken faucet? A man who clings leaks power. A man who selects stores power. That difference shapes the way she feels about you before you've even opened your mouth. Scarcity as respect, not manipulation. This isn't about playing games or disappearing to make her anxious. This is about ranking your own life so high that she feels the frame of your priorities. Your time, your training, your mission. These are not background props. These are the main events. Picture this micro story. He stops instantly replying. Instead, he prioritizes training, friends, and purpose. She notices the vacuum of urgency and her respect grows. It's not about neglect. It's about a man who is no longer tethered to his phone like an umbilical cord. He didn't starve her of attention. He fed himself first. He didn't punish her with silence. He rewarded himself with focus. 2 reframes you must burn into your brain right now. If he gives away every moment, you guard yours. If he answers instantly, you wait until you're ready. If he fills his schedule with noise, you carve space for strength. Rule: if you say yes to everyone, you say no to yourself. Ask yourself again, how many times have you said yes because you were afraid to lose her? How many times have you said yes when your gut screamed no? Scarcity starts by subtracting every false yes. Selectivity breeds self-respect and signals stability. A man who knows his worth filters his calendar, filters his relationships, filters his impulses. This is not arrogance. This is architecture. He's building a life that a woman can enter, not a void that begs to be filled. Look at the highest status men you admire. Do they respond instantly to every ping? Do they drop everything to prove they care? No. Their frame is a fortress, not a tent flapping in the wind. When they give time, it's deliberate, and because of that, it carries weight. This is your challenge. Prune your commitments. Build your schedule like a temple. Work, train, read, build, and socialize in ways that make you proud. When she texts, answer respectfully but on your terms. Not from scarcity of love, but from abundance of purpose. He didn't vanish to play a tactic. He evolved into a man whose time was already spoken for. He didn't stop replying to punish her. He started living so deeply he couldn't reply instantly, even if he tried. 2 more reframes to lock in. If she pushes for constant availability, you calmly explain your priorities. If she tests your boundaries, you hold them without apology. If she withdraws because you won't sacrifice your mission, you let her go and stay on course. This isn't loss, this is filtering. Scarcity says, my attention is gold, not sand. Selectivity says, not every hand can touch the vault. Together they form a masculine signature that women recognize even if they can't articulate it. It's the opposite of needy energy. It's the aura of a man who can't be bought with flattery or trapped with guilt. Ask yourself, do you want to be at the discount store where anyone can wander in, or the gallery with a velvet rope where entry itself is an honor? When your life becomes a velvet rope, women approach differently. Friendly. They show up with respect, curiosity, and self-selection. Scarcity and selectivity aren't about closing doors. They're about opening the right ones. When you treat your time as premium, you teach everyone around you how to treat you. You stop chasing their validation and start curating your reality. That's when attraction flips. That's when respect becomes automatic. That's when you stop being a background option and start being the main character. This is the discipline you need to start today. Limit instant replies. Replace passive scrolling with active building. Audit your calendar. Cut the dead weight. Invest in training, friends, purpose. Show her not with words but with structure that your time is premium. Because in the vacuum of urgency, respect grows. In the presence of purpose, desire follows. Desire follows. In the shadow of boundaries, intimacy blooms. Scarcity done ethically is not withholding love. It's amplifying value. It turns you from a man who clings into a man who chooses. And a man who chooses a man who's chosen. Standards are not decorations. Standards are your hidden armor. Every man obsessed with tactics ends up burned out, ghosted, or disrespected because tactics without standards are just noise. You think a move will save you, but without standards, you're building a castle on sand. With standards, intensity becomes unnecessary because your very presence filters who stays. Ask yourself, would you act this way if no one were watching? Would you still send that text, still tolerate that behavior, still shrink your boundaries if there was no reward? The man without standards performs for approval. The man with standards acts from principle. Standards are a filtering system. They're not about punishment, they're about clarity. They're the invisible checklist that keeps your self-respect intact when emotions flare. Without them, you default to tactics, double texting, waiting games, sudden cold shoulders, all of which scream insecurity. With them, you don't need games. You embody gravity. Here's the micro story. He once begged for attention. Every breadcrumb felt like a feast. Every ghosting shattered him. Then he set 3 non-negotiables. Overnight, he became immune to breadcrumbing and ghosting because the filter flipped. She wasn't judging him anymore. He was selecting her. He didn't chase validation. He curated access. He didn't need to trick her. He needed to train himself. 2 reframes that change your entire approach. If he lowers his standards, you raise yours. If he uses tactics to compensate, you use standards to elevate. If your standards wobble, your intensity spikes. This is the law. Every spike of panic you feel is a clue you've drifted from your code. Ask yourself again, what are your 3 non-negotiables? Could you name them right now without hesitation? Could you walk away if they're violated? Or are you still improvising your dignity on the fly? The 3 non-negotiables model is simple. First, define your core boundaries, deal breakers about respect, time, and honesty. Second, define your core values, what you actively cultivate in yourself and expect from a partner. Third, define your core practices, daily habits that lock your identity in place so you don't crumble under pressure. Would you act the same way if the cameras were off? Would you still be as generous, as patient, as disciplined? Standards are who you are when no one is watching. Tactics are what you do when you're afraid of losing. When you hold standards, you stop negotiating your worth. Women sense it. Friends sense it. The world senses it. You become the man whose yes means yes and whose no means no. This steadiness is rare in a culture addicted to instant approval. He didn't set traps, he set standards. He didn't become untouchable by hiding his feelings. He became untouchable by honoring his boundaries. 2 more reframes to tattoo on your mind. If she pressures you to bend your rules, you calmly restate them. If she tests your resolve, you pass by being consistent. If she leaves because you won't compromise your code, you let her leave. Standards over tactics filters your life and builds your legend. Think of it like the gym. Tactics are switching workouts every week hoping for magic. Standards are showing up mastering form, eating clean, sleeping enough. Over time, the man with standards outlasts every trend. Over time, the man with standards becomes the gravitational pull others orbit. Ask yourself, do you want to be the man who improvises boundaries like a street magician, or the man whose boundaries are carved in stone? Do you want to be the man who adapts to every woman's frame, or the man whose frame defines the interaction before words are spoken? Standards are self-respect codified. They are how you stop trading your dignity for attention. They are how you stop chasing highs and start building identity. When your standards are firm, your presence is calm. When your presence is calm, her trust increases and increases. When her trust increases, intimacy follows naturally. Start today. Write down your 3 non-negotiables. Commit to them the way an athlete commits to training. Test yourself every time you feel the urge to compromise. Ask yourself, would I do this if nobody noticed? If the answer is no, don't do it. Because standards are not about restricting love, they're about elevating it. Standards tell you where you end and another person begins. Standards free you from the endless chase. Standards turn you from a man of tactics into a man of substance. When your standards hold, you no longer need intensity to signal your worth. You radiate it quietly, you project it without a word. And in a world addicted to noise, that quiet becomes the loudest attraction signal of all. This is how you replace panic with presence. This is how you replace tactics with timeless power. Freedom isn't a trick to keep her guessing. Freedom is the soil where authentic closeness grows. Most men think gripping tighter builds intimacy. In reality, gripping tighter kills oxygen. Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom. That vertigo you feel when someone is free to go and yet chooses to stay. Can you handle her autonomy without spiraling? Can you stand still when she steps away? Or do you crumble, check her location, and flood her phone? This is the question that decides whether she feels safe or trapped in your orbit. Here's the paradox. The freer she feels, the closer she comes. The tighter you pull, the faster she runs. The looser you hold, the stronger she returns. This is not magic. It's the nervous system's response to space. Micro story. He told her, take the weekend. Live your life. She went off-grid with friends, surfed, laughed, and danced. She came back on Monday with renewed desire, hugging him longer than before. She felt his permission as a sign of his power, not his weakness. He didn't lock her in. He opened the door and trusted her to walk back. He didn't lose her respect. He doubled it by proving he could handle distance. 2 reframes to tattoo on your mind. If he panics when she's free, you breathe deeper. If he scrambles for proof, you anchor in silence. Rule: if she's free to go, she's free to stay. And if she's free to stay, she stays by choice, which is the only stay that matters. Ask yourself again, when silence enters, do you collapse or deepen? When she wants a weekend with friends, do you guilt trip her, or do you say, enjoy it, and then go live your own life? Kierkegaard's a dizziness of freedom, and it's the real tension your nervous system feels when you release control. You experience vertigo, your ego panics. But on the other side of that panic is self-command. On the other side of that self-command is a new level of closeness. But he didn't treat her autonomy as a threat. He treated it as a stage. He didn't flinch when she stepped away. He built his world so solid that her absence barely shook the walls. 2 more reframes to lock in. When you grant freedom, you also grant yourself time. Time to train. Time to build. Time to build. Time to focus on purpose. You stop monitoring and start mastering. She feels your absence not as neglect, but as proof you're anchored. Ask yourself, are you the man whose identity dissolves without constant updates? Or the man whose identity grows richer when left alone? Are you the man who reacts or the man who responds? In that gap lives your power. Freedom is a mirror. If you can't trust your freedom, you can't trust your own worth. If you're terrified she'll leave, it's because you haven't yet become a man worth returning to. Freedom tests both of you. Here's your practice. First, grant a little more space than feels comfortable. Second, use that space to deepen your mission. Third, Respond with calm rather than react with fear. Like progressive overload at the gym, you build tolerance to the unknown. She notices. She notices when you don't flinch, when you don't stalk, when you don't beg. She notices your silence isn't a weapon but a resting place. She notices your composure under tension, and that noticing flips attraction on. Because in the paradox of freedom, control dies but influence grows. In the paradox of freedom, she stops feeling cornered and starts feeling chosen. In the paradox of freedom, she stops pulling away and starts leaning in. This is the Kierkegaard principle of freedom. It's not about detachment to win. It's about detachment because you've already won yourself. When you no longer need to own her, you finally own your power. When you no longer demand her presence becomes a gift, not a hostage. Start today. Pick one area where you're gripping too tightly and release it. Let her breathe. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself breathe. Stand still in the dizziness of freedom until it stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a throne. That's when freedom turns into authentic closeness. That's when she walks back on her own and stays because she wants to, not because she has to. Strategic distance isn't ghosting. Strategic distance is oxygen. Most men either cling until she suffocates or disappears so abruptly she panics. The masculine art is in the middle. Calm space that builds trust instead of fear. Ask yourself, do you use space as punishment or respect? Do you withdraw to manipulate her feelings, or do you withdraw to maintain your center? This single question separates emotional amateurs from emotional professionals. Distance isn't coldness. Distance is clarity. Coldness says, I'm angry, feel my ice. Distance says, I'm centered, take your time. One pushes her away, the other draws her back stronger. Here's the micro story. He disappears for a weekend without announcement. She panics, assuming abandonment. Next time he says calmly, I'll be offline this weekend. She relaxes into trust because she feels informed, not punished. His absence becomes space, not a wound. He didn't weaponize silence, he honored space. He didn't punish her with distance, he protected both of them from suffocation. 2 reframes to tattoo on your mind. If he vanishes without clarity, you communicate. If he uses silence to control, you use silence to stabilize. Rule: if you weaponize silence, you lose. If you honor space, you win. This is the paradox of masculine calm. Ask yourself again, when tension rises, do you rush in with noise or do you slow down, breathe, and expand the space? Most men think filling the gap will fix the fear. In reality, the gap is where her trust decides whether to grow or collapse. Introduce the 2-day reset practice. When emotions spike, yours or hers, declare a 48-hour reset. No arguing, no over-explaining, no passive-aggressive posts. Instead, you train, work, read, recover. She experiences your pause as maturity, not neglect. When you return, your presence feels refreshed, not depleted. Distance plus communication equals stability. Distance without communication equals chaos. That's the difference between leadership and avoidance. When you lead with masculine calm, you stop playing tug-of-war with her nervous system. You start giving her breathing room without making her guess. He didn't disappear to provoke jealousy. He stepped back to regulate himself. He didn't ghost, he grounded. 2 more reframes to anchor deep. Strategic distance also protects you. It forces you to invest in your own life. Training, friendships, purpose, these aren't just hobbies. They're the infrastructure that keeps you from orbiting one person. When she feels you have a world beyond her, she can finally exhale. Ask yourself, are you the man who needs constant reassurance? Or are you the man who creates reassurance through steadiness? Are you the man who punishes with absence? Or the man who upgrades both lives by creating space? Strategic distance isn't about making her chase. It's about breaking the addiction to immediate validation. It's about teaching your nervous system to hold stillness without panicking. It's about showing her and yourself that connection is a choice, not a cage. When you honor space, intimacy becomes voluntary. When intimacy becomes voluntary, desire returns on its own. When desire returns on its own, you no longer need tactics to provoke it. This is how masculine calm multiplies attraction without a single extra word. Start today. Pick one area where you'll create a clear 2-day reset. Announce it calmly, then follow through. Use that time to build yourself, not test her. Watch how tension dissolves and respect rises. This is how you build tension ethically. This is how you give women breathing room. This is how strategic distance turns into masculine calm. And masculine calm turns into gravity she can't drift away from. Testing isn't betrayal. Testing is information. Every woman you'll meet will at some point pull back a little, slow the replies, take a weekend to herself. Most men spiral. Most men panic. The masculine edge is to see the gap for what it is, a test of consistency or an invitation to deepen trust. Ask yourself, is it a loyalty test or a trust opportunity? Is she checking if you'll hold frame under silence, or are you projecting your own fears into her space? That single question flips paranoia into composure. A man thinks she's ghosting. In reality, she's observing his reaction. He resists the urge to flood her inbox. He keeps training, working, and breathing. His composure turns the test into a deeper bond. She sees a man who doesn't crumble under distance, and that makes her lean in closer next time. He didn't assume betrayal. He assumed autonomy. He didn't punish her for space. He let space reveal her choice. 2 reframes you must burn into your nervous system. If she tests, you are steady. If she trusts you, you deepen. If he spirals into accusations, you anchor in silence. This is the rule. Testing is not an insult. It's a reflection of her nervous system scanning for stability. Ask yourself again, do you want to be the man who collapses at the first pause, or the man whose calm presence makes the pause a sanctuary? Do you want to be the man she has to soothe, or the man whose steadiness soothes her without a word? Women check for consistency under distance because consistency under distance is the foundation of safety. A man who can't handle a little space can't handle a life together. A man who breathes through the silence becomes rare air. He didn't chase the gap, he filled the gap with purpose. He didn't guess her motives, he grounded his own. 2 more reframes to lock in before you reach for your phone. When you treat tests as opportunities, you train your own nervous system. Every time you resist overreacting, you build the muscle of self-respect. Every time you respond instead of react, you send a signal. I am safe to attach to. I am safe to desire. Here's your practice. Next time she slows her responses, don't mirror panic. Mirror calm. Go to the gym. Finish your project. Call your brother. Fill your time with things that make you proud. When she returns, meet her with the same steady energy you held in her absence. Because testing and trusting are not opposites. Testing is the bridge to trusting. Pass the test, you get the trust. Fumble the test, you get the drift. When you stay composed, the test collapses into closeness. Stop interpreting every pause as betrayal. Start interpreting every pause as a chance to reveal your center. In a world of men who react, be the man who regulates. In a culture of boys who panic, be the man who steadies. If she tests, you are steady. If she trusts you, you deepen. That's how withdrawal stops being a nightmare and starts being an invitation to power. Presence isn't a tactic. Presence is an identity. Intensity is a hunter's reflex, but presence is a king's gravity. The man you're becoming no longer chases closeness. He radiates it. Ask yourself, what if your presence itself is the offer? What if the way you walk into a room already answers every question before she asks? You don't have to announce your worth. You embody it. You don't have to prove stability. You project it without noise. That's the shift from intensity to presence. Here's the micro story. He walks into a room without needing attention. People orbit his calm gravity. His silence is not absence, it's magnetism. His glance is not a plea, it's a signal of self-command. He didn't flood the room with noise, he filled it with steadiness. He didn't demand eyes on him. He became the axis people naturally revolved around. 2 reframes you must lock in. If he hustles for validation, you slow down. If he tries to impress, you ground. Rule: if your identity changes, your relationships follow. When you become a presence itself, connection stops being a chase and starts being a choice. Ask yourself again, what rituals are shaping your presence? Are you practicing the habits of a man who anchors himself or the habits of a man who leaks his power? The presence ritual is simple but lethal to insecurity. Morning grounding before you touch your phone. Sit still, breathe deep, remember who you are. No scrolling, no texting, no reaching outward. Just you, your breath, and your frame. Evening review before sleep, replay your day. Where did you hold the frame? Where did you leak? Where did you radiate calm? Where did you revert to chasing? Write it down. Adjust tomorrow. Presence is forged in small repetitions. It's not a vibe, it's a nervous system reset. You're training your body to stop treating intimacy as threat and start treating intimacy as gravity. He didn't wait for women to validate him. He validated himself daily. He didn't demand closeness. He became a presence that closeness sought out. 2 more reframes to tattoo on your inner wall. When you stop needing to do something to earn attention, your energy changes, your tone drops, your eyes are steady, your movements slow. People feel it before they understand it. That's why presence beats tactics. Presence reaches the subconscious first. Ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as the man of moves or the man of standards? Do you want to be a temporary spark or a steady flame? Because presence doesn't brag. Presence waits. Presence doesn't chase. Presence invites. Presence doesn't panic. Presence deepens. Start tomorrow morning. Build your presence ritual. Practice it until it's automatic. When your identity shifts from hunter to center, the entire dynamic flips. She starts proving herself to you. She starts moving closer without prompting. She starts feeling safe because you stop broadcasting. This is how you seal the transformation, from intensity to presence, from clinging to commanding, from hunter to access. Your identity is your offer, your presence is your power. When you live like this, relationships follow your gravity instead of your desperation. And that's when closeness becomes effortless and respect becomes automatic. He didn't suffocate, he gave space. The old self grabbed tighter, mistaking control for connection. The new self steps back, letting silence create gravity. When she breathes freely, desire grows. When you stop crowding, respect expands. He didn't text bomb, he centered himself. The old self fired off messages like flares in the night sky, begging for attention. The new self grounded, breathed, trained, and let her feel the difference. Do you want to be remembered as the man of noise or the man of presence? He didn't demand love, he embodied it. The old self begged, argued, pleaded. The new self radiated calm, acted with consistency, and let his standards speak louder than any "I love you" ever could. He became the source, not the beggar at the door. He didn't panic at distance, he steadied his frame. The old self collapsed when she pulled away, spiraled into paranoia, and tried to claw back closeness. The new self sat still, trusted his worth, and let the space test his gravity. Which man do you want to be? The one she escapes or the one she returns to? He didn't perform tactics, he lived standards. The old self memorized tricks like a desperate magician, always scrambling to impress. The new self set non-negotiables, filtered with calm, and became immune to breadcrumbing. When your standards hold, her games collapse. Picture this. Picture this. A man once sat by his phone all weekend, waiting for her reply, heart racing with every buzz. Now he spends that same weekend training, building, and laughing with friends. By Monday, she's the one wondering what changed. That's the identity shift. If he leaks energy, you store it. If he grasps, you release, rule. When you change your identity, your relationships follow. He didn't chase her shadow. He became the light. He didn't shrink when tested. He expanded. He didn't sell his soul for closeness. He stood firm until closeness became voluntary. This is the final split screen. It's your old identity, intense, needy, reactive. New identity, selective, still, magnetic. Old identity chases closeness. New identity radiates presence. Old identity begs for validation. New identity commands respect. Ask yourself again, which man do you want to live with tomorrow morning? The boy who panics at silence, or the man who commands silence as his ally? The hunter begging for scraps, or the king radiating gravity? The choice is brutal but simple. If you stay intense, you stay replaceable. If you become a presence, you become unforgettable. He didn't suffocate, he gave space. He didn't panic, he steadied. He didn't perform, he embodied. That's the shift, that's the standard, that's the man you must become. Behaviors are not people. Intensity isn't evil. It's just a habit you can unlearn. Women aren't puzzles to decode. They're partners with autonomy to respect. Ask yourself, do you corner her with control or invite her with calm? Do you react from fear or respond from standards? He didn't smother, he steadied. He didn't test her, he trusted. If he panics, you pause. If he controls, you release. Consent is the line. Respect is the rule. When you honor both, closeness stops being a tactic and starts being real.